And just preemptive, unless there are objections, I would like to excuse Councilmember Mayhew. As I said, he may join us, he may not. He had personal matters keeping away this evening. So we shouldn't penalize him for that. Hearing no objections, or he's excused. Let's go on into, scroll up a little bit so I see the beginning of the agenda. If City Clerk will note attendance. We'll move on with the agenda of the approval of the agenda. Sorry. Any alterations or movement of items? Chair has none.
Nope, I have none.
Okay. Again, still won't see Mr. Mayhew, so and the administration is good with the agenda as presented tonight. All right, we'll proceed on with the agenda as presented. First item up will the approval of minutes dated September 19th, 2023. Chair has no revisions or alterations.
I have no.
All right, so we will approve the minutes as presented and move them forward. From there, we'll go to consideration of claims approval report dated October 9th, 2023. Chair has no questions, and let me take a quick look here. I don't believe I have any questions from any council members in email. No, I do not. Okay. Do you have any?
I have no questions, Brian.
All right, unless there are objections, we'll take the warrants as presented as approved. Hearing no objections, the warrants are approved. All right. With that, we'll move on to Agenda Bill AB 23079, Meadowbrook Farm Operations and Maintenance Service Agreement.
You have something to share? Do I need to?
Oh, if you want to bring up the agenda bill,
I don't, okay.
yeah,
I've been knocked out so many times, I'm not ready, so I'll work on that.
Emily Arteche, Community Development Director. You may recall that I was here with you at your previous meeting introducing 3 agenda bills for Meadowbrook Farm. I'm back with 2 that you asked to have revised. And this one, Agenda Bill 23079, is the agreement to formalize the terms and conditions which the Skyview Metropolitan Park District would provide day-to-day operations and maintenance to Meadowbrook Farm. The full scope of services to be provided is set forth in Section 4 of the agreement and includes ground maintenance, building maintenance, scheduling for classes and events, rentals, and identifying recommended updates to the Meadowbrook Farm Master Plan. We went back and made some changes to the maintenance contract budget, even though we are not proposing a budget. We wanted to give you a preview of what it could include. We also made some other adjustments. You had seen 2 versions of this agreement, one with a fairly substantial appropriation required of $80,000. And we went back and actually changed that to include what is currently being practiced with an available budget after agreement about $13,000. And then we also made some just fine enhancements, including the word net to help clarify exactly what kind of expenses the city would be paying for. So hopefully the information is clear now and more closely accurate to what a budget would be like after this agreement has been approved. Happy to answer any questions. But should just also remind you that this agenda bill was updated just recently as of today, and we do have hard copies that are on your in front of you.
And so we're looking at an annual appropriation of about 23,000 a year. Okay. Yep. I have no additional questions. Do you have any questions, Councilor?
I'm just catching. Hang on one second. Just one moment.
Oh, and also, now that we've, are there anyone in attendance who would like to from public speak in regards to this? Please raise your hand in the Zoom. If not, we will keep going.
I'm sorry, Director Artecha. So the amount expenditure is 23,000, but the amount budgeted is 20,000. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Why the difference?
It's 23,041 and available budget after agreement would be 13,041. But again, these are just estimates based on past practices and that we would still fully need to approve a proposed budget, which Skyview Parks is proposing now. They should be back, first quarter next year with a budget.
Okay. Okay. So these are estimates. Okay.
Mhm.
It's the only question I have. Concerning this bill.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move that forward to council. And let's have both agenda bills as non-consent.
Non-consent?
Uh,
I agree with that. Consent.
well, wait a minute, I'm thinking, hang on. How about we split the difference?
Have the ILA and consent.
No, I think the operations maintenance services agreement can be consent. I mean, that one's fine. So this was initial bill as consent.
And the Meadowbrook Farm.
And
governs
well, let's talk to ILA if you want to introduce that one and then have some discussion.
Ready for Agenda Bill 112?
Mhm.
So this purpose of this interlocal agreement is to set forth the terms and conditions for which Meadowbrook Farm will be governed and managed by the cities of Snoqualmie and North Bend in order to preserve the farm as a public open space consistent with all applicable restrictions set forth in deeds, chapter 8434 RCW ordinances, regulations, and requirements of the Conservation Futures Tax Grant and the Washington State RCO program manuals, and to do so consistently with the Meadowbrook Farm Master Plan as previously approved by the two cities. Your committee had made some suggested revisions to this agreement, which staff went back and was able to change. So you'll see in this agreement that the areas of the time frame and expiration dates of this agreement have been changed, which would require an approval after the expiration of the agreement. And each year it would require that approval. There are changes to describe how the budget would be approved, and it includes some language that would generally fall under about a half of the budget. And then you'll also see the mediation requirements reflected, as the city council would be appointing those people to do any mediation. Well, hopefully those changes are straightforward and clear. Happy to answer any questions.
I think one
Good.
of the questions last time was, instead of going right away to mediation, how would we resolve any differences when we're talking about budget? And so the resolution was that we would, if a member disagrees, then the city council of each member, which would be North Bend and also Snoqualmie, would appoint a representative to meet together to negotiate resolution. So there'd be additional persons involved rather than just the two mayors. If they can't agree, then you could appoint a couple of different council members from each city as well and have further discussions until you come to some type of resolution on the budget. And if not, then you go to mediation. But I think you can, after 25 years, I think we can continue working through it.
Avoid that.
Yes.
Okay. I have no questions at this moment in regards to the overall ILA.
I'm fine. I have no questions on the ILA at this point.
I guess procedural question. And Mayor Ross, you've got an email and I've got an email.
Yeah.
Of at least one council member who has an alternate proposal on the makeup of the governing body. I'm happy with the ILA as presented, but I've at least got one that has, hey, I got an alternate idea. Based on that, my assumption would be to keep it off consent to allow that discussion to occur with that council member in presence. I'm not proposing at this stage that the committee take up that issue. I'm
That'd be fine that we could
Okay.
explain the overall agreement after, after it expired for 25 years. This is a new kind of a format. How we're setting it up, so. I think, and we could talk, I can maybe email out to you and him also some of the comments that I have.
okay. Well, and we don't have two council members as representation to just about any of our liaison positions. And typically council members have a life outside of here, so that might be devoting to, if you're gonna do any, maybe a bit much.
Well, and I think it doesn't need to be formal. None of these need to state that there be a council liaison. Because currently in the MPFA, which is the Preservation Association, we have a council liaison that we've assigned,
Mhm.
but it's not part of the body. They just show up. It'd be
Right.
similar to going to Northwest Railway meetings, right? We're not in their bylaws, but we just send someone to represent, just to provide input or to come back and share information with council. So I don't think we need to formalize having a council liaison. If someone wants to go attend, that's a council member, sure. But
Yeah, and any of us can attend any of these meetings as long as we're cognizant of not making them a council public
Right.
meeting by number of attendees.
right,
So none of these agreements preclude our attendance, just
Right.
as a interested citizen.
right. And the decisions that are made by the governing body, so usually it's going to be both the mayors that are appointed, or the mayor could have a designee, which it could be a council member, right?
Mhm.
But still, all the decisions actually still go through council for approval.
Right.
So for the budget and for the master plan, any of those still go to council. So to think that we need additional people on that governing body, I don't know that we do, because we're just gonna bring it to council anyway for approval.
I agree. All right, with that, we'll move that forward onto council agenda as non-consent. And move those two agenda bills. Thank you. Back to the agenda.
Priority tracker. yeah.
All right, with that, we'll move on to discussion items. First one is council priority tracker. I ran out of time in the past meeting, having discussions. Let's, so again, looking at the list we've got, my intent would be like, let's pull a couple items, at least bring them in discussion, make sure that we're on the same page where the thing is, and then bring that information, a synopsis of that to council to keep that information flow going and what's going on.
Okay.
With that, my thoughts tonight would be, let's pick a subject or two for discussion in next committee. Not off the cuff tonight.
Okay.
With that going down the list, man, you need bigger. I think Snoqualmie Mill site is off and running. I'm not sure that. Is it time for a discussion on that, or should we let that one cook for a little bit longer?
I defer to Director Arteche.
Would you please repeat that?
So my intent is to try to go down through the list. I'm just trying to figure out an order. The mill site, we just kind of did the agreement and have them off and running pretty much. Is there enough additional items for discussion at this stage that we ought to put this top of the list and have a discussion of what's going on with the mill site?
Brian,
Yeah.
point of order, sorry. I guess I was under the assumption, so that's under Community Development Committee. I was
Nope,
under the
wrong,
assumption.
I'm sorry, I was on the wrong one.
It's an
Back up.
administration, okay.
Let's go to the finance. Go to the
that correct?
finance page. That is correct.
We wanna, okay,
I don't want to discuss other committees. They can
Okay.
have their discussion.
all right.
Sorry.
Thank you.
We're probably not at a discussion stage for city network improvements.
Mhm.
Actually, I was gonna
Add one.
suggest network improvements and fiscal transparency tools for the next one, because they are timely.
They're timely. Okay.
What's the second one? I'm sorry.
The ERP project.
Okay. So financial forecasting
Transparent.
tools.
Transparency tools.
Where's oh, financial transparency tools. Okay.
It's, those three are really the same thing.
The financial transparency tools and the forecasting tools.
And the enterprise resource planning,
Okay.
those are all the same project.
Uh, hmm. Should we consolidate them?
Let's have the discussion and then maybe have that as part of that discussion. If it, I'd rather have more details before I jump
If it
down
makes
that path.
sense.
Or at what stage would be, or would it be timely to have an update on the strategic plan?
I think with current staffing the way it is, it may be a heavy lift right now. But there are several on here that are near completion. So maybe we could discuss that about that tonight. So as we complete these, how do you envision this reflecting that information? Like the citywide badges is done. Everybody has a badge.
What do you-
So hold off on that second part. At least in the notes section, there ought to be some statement of accomplishment. What was accomplishment? What was the so what factor of
Okay.
what was accomplishment? How does that either help the city reduce costs, be more efficient, whatever? What's the benefit to those we represent in doing that accomplishment? And probably at that stage, a discussion in here, and then just bring it up as a item of note to council.
Council.
So yeah, if there are items we think are complete, let's have a brief discussion and what's the talking point on it, and then move that forward to council.
So I think Councilmember Holloway brings up a good point. I'm also wondering under the end date, if we could put in the end date and put in completion. That way we know it's completed.
All right, with that, I think we got topics for next week, and probably that's a discussion for this evening. I think that's all. All right, then upcoming agenda items, informational only. And I guess that's the all right, that's all items there. Let's go to draft city council. Are we gonna have an executive session tonight? for this committee?
Yes,
Okay.
unless you wanna not do that.
I'm shooting in the dark, so I'm not gonna say no. All right, let's real quick look at the council agenda for next week. Again, council starting at 7 o'clock, call to order, pledge of allegiance, agenda approval, public hearings and appointments. We do have a presentation from KCFCA Meritus Award. Um, uh, King County, I won't go for the rest because I'll probably pick wrong. When we use the acronyms, can we spell them out?
King County Fire Chiefs Association, yes, sir.
Okay.
Don't know what it stands for either.
That message will be delivered.
I get in trouble when I try to actually fit words in, but never mind. Presentation of police awards. Proclamation of Fire Prevention Week. Approval of city council amendment, approval of claims reports. Amendments to SM3 multifamily property tax exemption. This will be the second reading and action for both multifamily tax exemption and auxiliary dwelling units. Committee reports, Sunnyside Jail local interlocal agreement. That'll be public safety, community development, amendment, SMC multifamily tax. Okay. Aren't we in essence doing the second reading as part of the agenda bill under community development?
Hmm.
Do we have to, well, the tax exemption, do we have to read it and then later on read it again and do it? Can't we just read it again and do it as part of the committee report out?
It's listed twice.
Is it prior to public hearings?
It's not public, we already
We did that.
We
already,
could if
right?
that was how you would prefer to have it listed.
went on there twice.
I have it listed twice. Once under ordinance and once under.
Well, there's the first reading, and we did that last week. And then there's second reading in action. And I think that's really covered under just doing the agenda bill as part of the committee report out, not, we have it now up above as ordinances.
Mhm.
So we
Um,
can do it under ordinances, the second reading and then the action.
Okay, I have no problem. I just want to do it once instead of twice.
Okay, I can move them up.
So can you, yeah, change the proposed action to actually voting on it
Mhm.
and then take it out from on the committee side?
Yep.
I think they will forgive me.
Maybe.
All right, then we'll have agenda bill 2318 still under the community development, Dish Wireless hearing examiner recommendation. Are we voting on that recommendation or just acknowledgement?
Yeah, it's a quasi judicial process, so you're reviewing it to make sure that the process was followed properly and consider the hearing examiner's recommendation to you.
So it is a quasi judicial approval of the waiver.
Oh, it's a wireless antennas that are being proposed for Center Boulevard.
Right, so, but it is sorry, waiver is an improper term. Quasi judicial approval of that
A
installation.
CUP, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Can we, so note that in the agenda right now, it's just blank unless I'm reading a later version. No,
Right, once the agenda is complete, ready to be posted, it'll have that.
okay,
motion.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right, and then we'll have the agenda bill 2310 Eagle Lake Recommendation Basin Services Agreement. Oh, and sorry, didn't go down all the way. Community Center update and F&A committee will have Meadowbrook Farm Operations Agreement. Go ahead and move that to consent. And we'll leave the ILA down there under committee report. Okay, from there, we'll, committee of the whole and reports and potential executive session at the end. Any other objections or?
There's potentially a second executive session for the quasi judicial proceeding in case needs to be further discussion.
Yep.
So I'll add that as
You'll
well.
add that in. Thank you.
And there also may be bargaining.
So there will.
Like,
potentially
add
be a
that in
closed session
too.
as
So
well.
3 executive sessions potentially.
2 executive sessions and a closed session.
All right.
Okay. Any other changes or revisions to the council agenda for next week?
Nope, looks good to me.
All right, looks
No
good.
questions
Let's
right
move
now.
that forward. Oh, wait a minute.
Just have a question about the community center update. Because we didn't get to that tonight. It will be the first time you're hearing some information if we go forward with the update to the full council. And I don't want there to be a surprise. So do you want to postpone it from this council meeting to the next one so we can talk about it committee first, or do you just want to proceed?
Is it within the 2-week time critical?
No,
Okay, why don't we propose one, have it at committee and then bring it to council?
It'll be a long agenda further Monday night. With
Oh,
the-
well, we just took one long item off. If we move the community center to
The following.
the following council meeting. Okay. All right, any other changes or alterations? All right, let's move forward. The council as this council agenda as discussed. With that, I think we're going to go into an executive session. I don't think there's action after the executive session. So we will adjourn out of executive session. So no need for everybody to come back in and go from there. All right, with that, why don't we stay in here? We'll just shut down the Zoom and ask everybody, go home, have a fun time. I'm in Vias. Uh,
For how
Who do you
long?
want to stay?
start with 30 minutes.
Minutes,
30 minutes? Okay.
30 minutes.
The mayor.
To have
myself,
anyone stay,
The mayor, myself,
Okay.
you.
to me, I guess.
And I didn't check. Councilmember Mayhew did not make it onto Zoom.
I don't see him on Zoom.
Okay.
He did not.
I'm not gonna worry about him. in the
Was on
executive session.
earlier.
Huh?
He was on earlier.
Oh.
Parks Public Works.
Yeah.
Oh,
So if it goes beyond 30,
so I'm gonna go ahead and
Gonna
leave
do
out
like
of the
that.
Zoom.
Yeah, go ahead and leave out of the Zoom or it may shut down.
I promise.
okay.
Keep you honest there.
I won't
All right.
screw up twice. I promise.